This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need
And we're back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, joined by Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group. On Boomer Life today, we're talking about your financial future. A well-thought-out plan for your financial future is an integral part of building the life that you want for both yourself and for your family. So, Jim, earlier in this show, we had a little conversation about the dynamics of family-owned businesses and some of the unique challenges involved with that. And I know we'll continue that conversation at another date. As well, we talked about the changing face of retirement. So now, if you're a parent, here's an issue that you're probably going to be wrestling with at some point, if not now, helping the kids buy their first home. Let's talk about this for a bit.
Great. Parents may be able to help their children buy a home, but it pays to weigh all your options first. Sometimes it's more than just a money decision that we're asking of the parents. If your kids aren't all that smart with money, you could be rescuing them financially at some point in the future.
I have to laugh because the opening theme music for this segment of the show was "The best things in life are free."
Yes.
And I think a lot of kids these days are looking for that free handout, but it's so important that the money skills kids learn early follow them throughout their entire life. So what advice do you have for parents looking to help their kids buy their first home?
It's not that uncommon that I speak with parents who are looking for a game plan on how to teach their kids essential money skills. It's a skill that many parents admit to being uncomfortable tackling. Anxiety can increase if the parents feel that their own money skills aren't that great, especially if they haven't been good with debt or spending or even savings decisions. But when it comes to helping your kids buy their first home, what a teachable moment if you choose to look at it like this.
So how do parents help their kids out without placing their own personal financial well-being at risk?
Here are some of the factors I think parents should weigh when helping their kids or making the decision about buying a home. First, assess your own finances. Whatever you do, don't put your own retirement at risk. As a parent, you might be tempted to help your kids, but you want to assess whether you're able to live without those funds that you're going to be giving up. If you do decide to kick in some cash towards your kids' down payment, be clear about whether it's a gift or a loan. This will be especially important later on if your child's relationship with their partner falters or breaks down. And here's one I think sometimes gets overlooked. Remember, lenders are going to want to know if it's a loan, and this might impact how much they can qualify for on a mortgage.
Very good point. With house prices being so expensive, especially in this province, many parents want to see their kids enjoy that dream of home ownership. One of the biggest obstacles can be saving enough for the down payment, and for many parents, the temptation is going to be that they want to be there to help.
I think a number of parents do worry about the best ways to help their kids when it comes to buying that first home, and there's a fair bit of apprehension about how it might affect their own retirement plans.
So if I've been paying attention at all, before opening your wallet, make sure that your decision isn't going to come back to hurt you. So look after your own financial needs first and your financial plan and your financial responsibilities. It's a reality for most of us that we worry about money. I worry about money. You worry about money. Hands up in the building. You worry about money? Okay, if you're driving, put your hands down now. The question is, why do we let worry about money drive so much of our decision making?
In my experience, I think it comes down to trying to control things that are outside of our control. For instance, we worry about whether we'll have enough to retire or help the kids out. These are great goals to have. However, we've got to realize that even though we might do everything in our power, we still might come up short, and I think we have a hard time accepting this outcome.
So for those of us that don't have a background in investments or money management, we probably feel that we're trying to do everything we can, yet perhaps the one thing we're not doing is actually working with an advisor for fear of giving up control. Money really can be emotionally charged.
We want to believe that we're doing and we're trying. What we're doing, what we're trying, will always be enough to come over every obstacle between us and our goal. So what's the alternative? Here's a crazy idea. What if we let go of the worry and the fear and try to let go of controlling the things that we can't control. In essence, stop worrying.
Well, isn't that why we would hire an advisor? Have the advisor worry about the things that can keep us from realizing our goals, or having the advisor come up with strategies or action plans that are going to protect us?
Could I suggest that you treat worry as a sign you need to revisit those things that you value most? Chances are, worry is a sign that things are off kilter. When we understand your values, we can help weigh whether your worry is warranted or not, and help offer suggestions on ways to reduce or eliminate certain risks.
I think one of the biggest obstacles is that we don't have the knowledge we want to make the decisions that we need to make.
The problem isn't finding solutions. You can go to the internet and find dozens of solutions. The difficulty comes from having the knowledge to implement the strategies that are appropriate for your situation. Another key element is understanding that we all use different methods to make our financial decisions. They're ours, okay? And they don't always make them right or wrong. But it's uber important for us to understand the why, as it helps remove the worry about our financial choices.
So I guess part of that is what we've learned, fear of what we don't know, and what experiences we've had along the way, that those are the things that help steer our decisions.
Often, some of the anxiety can come from a shortfall about acknowledging that we're not doing everything that we can in our own situation, like sticking to a budget or setting and meeting goals. Worry doesn't need to play a lead role in your financial decisions. Banishing worry, it won't come easy. There's so little to lose and so much to appreciate if we can put aside worry and focus on what we can control when it comes to money.
It's about finding the right people to help you through this. You want someone who's invested in your situation, someone who's invested in you, someone who's going to help take the time and maybe help take on some of that hard work as well.
2 4-letter words: hard work. Hard work is just that, hard work. And changing habits doesn't come easy. Instead of taking on all the hard work yourself, let your advisor do some of the heavy lifting.
It sounds really simple. Sounds pretty good too. And yet I think investors wrestle with emotion at some point when it comes to investment decisions.
They say people are of 2 minds: a left brain, which is analytical, and a right brain, which is emotional. People think of 2 minds, and we have to address both. As an advisor, I have to help deal with both, because you have to call people to action, and that part comes from the right brain. It's not enough to know something, you need to do something. So when we say performance is not a goal, retirement is a goal, and my role is to help manage investor behavior.
We hear that a major determinant in people becoming successful is nothing other than their behavior. That's where you can help, right?
For most investors, financial risk is singularly defined as the possibility of not reaching financial goals. As such, the sole objective of investing is to minimize this risk.
So what steps can we take to discover our true level of risk tolerance?
Well, I guess you can try to avoid risk, reduce risk, accept it, or transfer it to something or someone else.
Would it be fair to say that most advisors tend to think experienced investors understand risk and volatility and have an expectation that safeguards are in place?
I think this is one of those myths. Just because people have investments, and sometimes significant investments, doesn't mean that they're comfortable with their investment knowledge or understand their investments. In an effort to limit volatility, people inadvertently limit risk, removing the chance of return on a long-term basis for their investments to try and keep pace with inflation. I often see this in my practice, and it can be a challenging conversation.
So, Jim, how do you help guide these types of conversations in your practice?
It's big picture planning. One thing I do in my practice is help investors understand risk better. What risk is, what it means to them, and what their options are. I'm absolutely convinced that if people understood risk better, that they might have the tools to make better choices. But I think the real problem comes from people not understanding the difference between risk and volatility.
When it comes to managing investment emotions, why is it better to work with an advisor rather than go it alone or do it yourself?
I think one of the reasons we're often challenged when we measure success is that when we discuss investment goals and the importance of achieving them, we focus on amounts rather than how close or how far we are from actually achieving that goal.
I think you need an advisor who can explain how they will help you stay invested in strategies even when your portfolios seem to be suffering market dips.
Joanne, knowing how you're making your investment decisions sometimes is as important as knowing what investment decisions you actually choose. People expect details about what safeguards are in place to manage risk.
I agree with that.
If you've lost money in a certain type of investment before, it's likely you're going to be reluctant to include it in your portfolio again, even if it was the right type of investment to be part of the mix. When constructing an investment portfolio, it's important to be reminded not to take your eye off of an appropriate asset allocation strategy.
So you bring up a good point here. What is asset allocation?
Clients suffer from decisions that hurt their investment portfolio performance, such as trading too much and selling winners early or losers late. I think it could be helpful to relate money choices back to goals and purposes, not just performance numbers. There's a temptation to hold a certain number of investments when markets are doing particularly well. But like the child's game of musical chairs, when the music stops, you never want to find your portfolio holding too much of something or devoid of something that should have been there all the way along.
So we tend to chase performance and end up losing sight of our bigger picture?
Certainly. When it comes to speaking to clients about putting a portfolio together, I'd like to frame investment decisions in a way that will increase the likelihood that you're going to stick with your investment plans even when markets fluctuate. And I have to say this again, asset allocation makes sense, if only we could stick with it.
When it comes to people's money and investments, you help people set an action plan, steps to take to increase confidence and the likelihood of success, correct?
One way that we can help is to explore their vision and ask them to describe what it looks like for you in, say, a year, 3, 10, or 20 years. The more detail, the better. If you can describe it, you're likely going to be more successful at planning for it.
So can you expand a little bit on the differences between an investment plan and a financial plan? Because they are two very different approaches, but equally important. And I know some of us still confuse the two.
Well, here's how I see the differences. I want to be a catalyst for people that want to improve their financial situation, whether that's for those who are already financially independent to those who have suffered a few financial setbacks and want to make the best of their situation. While an investment plan can help with investment selection, I can't stress just how many other important considerations need to be part of this financial plan that go beyond investment selection. Let me ask, consider for a moment, how would your financial planning and investment decisions change if you knew you were going to live for a lot longer than planned?
So Jim, when you choose to work with a client, you follow a certain selection process. Why is this important to you, and why should it matter to a prospective client?
It has to be the right fit. I really want to get to know my clients before I agree to take them on, asking lots of questions to understand their expectations and whether I can help deliver them. I want to know how they take advice and what investment experiences they bring to the table.
So Jim, you know, we've spent the last 9 months together, 1 month at a time, one visit at a time, getting to know each other a little bit more. And it's pretty clear to me now how much you actually value the trust that people put in you and how much hard work that you put in as an advisor. You're asking all those tough questions that need to be asked. I really like that approach. It means a lot. Jim, is there a couple of final messages you would like to leave with us today? Is there anything that we've missed?
Great. Understanding your relationship with money can provide a stronger benefit when working with your advisor because we know that advised clients build more wealth. And when it comes to managing change, it's not enough to know something. You need to do something. Take action. If you're not where you want to be financially, ask how we might help. And I want people to remember the 3 T's. The time to do the research and anticipate the tax consequences. The technique of knowing what you're doing with knowledge. And of course, temperament, emotional control.
And the lesson I've learned, leave the emotion out of it. Right? Right. You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today we've been speaking with JimDoyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group, and we've been speaking about helping people redefine what financial advice means and regaining confidence in their financial futures. Financial security is a paramount goal for most Canadians. The need for advice has never been greater. Make 2015 the year that you rediscover confidence in your financial future. For more information and to get to know Jim Doyle better, please visit his website, jimdoyle.ca, or you can call him toll-free 1-800-665-7178 or 604-682-5431. That's our program for today on Boomer Life on CL 650.